What's up, sisters? This is your boy, Beef, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we have got an absolutely horrendous build for the Order of the Soul Knife subclass of the Mystic. This build scales incredibly well as you level up, and by Act 3, we'll be delivering insane psychic damage nukes using the Summoned Soul Knives. Before we get into it, thanks for watching. If you like this build, let me know by liking the video or commenting down below what you would do differently with it, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. So, let's go ahead and get right on into the build. At level 1, we are going to make a beeline for the Mystic class. And we are going to grab the Order of the Soul Knife subclass. This subclass is really powerful, and its core ability lets you summon a pair of soul knives, which are daggers that deal 1d8 psychic damage and scale with your intelligence stat instead of dexterity or strength. At level 3, you're going to gain access to Hone the Blade, an ability which lets you spend side points to increase the strength of your summoned soul knives. When you first get your soul knives, they're definitely very strong weapons, but they don't naturally scale very well throughout the game. But this ability fixes that problem and lets you buff your weapons to +2, +3, and so on. Later down the line, we're going to get Consumptive Knife at level 6. This passive feature lets us recover 2 side points for every enemy we've reduced to 0 hit points. Allowing us to keep going for longer between long rests. The Mystic class supports progression up to level 20, but this specific build is going to stop at level 12, because by then we'll be able to get everything we need to kill basically everything in our path. If you wanted to go up to level 20, the subclass gains access to Phantom Knife, which lets you make an attack that cannot be avoided. But when all is said and done with this build, we'll be hitting pretty much all of our attacks anyway, so we don't really need this ability. You're welcome to progress the subclass to level 14 if you want. The subclass also gains proficiency with medium armor and martial weapons, which is nice to have for survivability, mostly. Let's take a look at our ability scores real quick. So given that our weapons scale with intelligence, we're going to want to put +2 and max out our intelligence here. 17 is great. We're going to go 16 in Constitution for a little bit of extra tankiness and more health, because this character can be a little bit squishy sometimes. So more health is always a great thing. We're going to go 14 in Dexterity for our initiative, and you could theoretically switch these up if you wanted to have more initiative and a little bit less tankiness, but it's up to you. Wisdom, I'm going to keep at 10, and Charisma 8, and Strength 8. For our skill proficiencies, I'm going to go with Perception, because Perception is great. There's a lot of perception checks around the map, and we're going to go Insight +4 as well. So now we are going to look at our first psionic abilities. We're going to start with psionic talents here. You could take whatever you like. We have access to some really useful options, like Mystic Hand is actually the one that I'm going to take here, or Delusion, which gives us access to Mage Hand and Minor Illusion, basically. Mystic Hand being Mage Hand, and Delusion being the plant a false belief in the target area, summoning a simulacrum that compels nearby creatures to investigate. It's very similar to Minor Illusion. Another really good option is Beacon. Infuse yourself with bright light. You can choose the emissive color. This is really great for early Act 2, because you can imbue yourself with light, so you don't have to hold a torch in the air. Just a really good option for that. So now we're going to take a look at some psionic disciplines. This is where things can get a little bit messy, because we have so many options at our disposal, and we can really only pick one for now. But the first thing that you're going to want to grab is Psionic Skirmishing. This ability is going to give us a psychic focus, which grants us the effects of 2-weapon fighting, which doesn't say here, but allows us to add our ability modifier to our offhand weapon attacks, which means we'll be doing increased damage while dual wielding our soul knives. It really just brings up our offhand weapon so that it's doing the same damage as our main hand. You also gain an ability that lets you turn your bonus action into 2 attacks at the expense of some side points. You can also eventually use Concentration to infuse your weapons with 1d6 of a chosen damage type. I don't use this ability very often because it takes the Concentration slot. It's good at the beginning of the game, but we're going to find a better use for our Concentration slot later down the line. The discipline is eventually going to let you use a quick buff at the start of combat that gives you access to extra attack, Psionic Alacrity. It doesn't require an action or a bonus action. You just pop this buff at the beginning of combat, and for the next 10 turns, you have access to extra attack. So we can hit even more times with our soul knives, and and then you also get access to a huge blade flurry attack, so you can do some more AoE damage if you need to. This one's not super useful for our build because of other things that we'll get to, but it's really nice in the early game. The key here is really just the 2 weapon fighting and the psionic alacrity for extra attack when we reach that level. At level 2, we can detect thoughts pretty much all the time with telepathy, which is really great. Use it sparingly because some enemies don't like when you detect their thoughts. You also gain access to mystical recovery, which helps us to regenerate some side points after using them. Other than that, not really much you get at level 2. At level 3, we can start to scale our soul knives. We get a new psionic talent, and we get access to a new psionic discipline, but we also get access to hone the blade, which allows us to boost the damage and the attack rolls of our soul knives. For our psionic talents, we are going to take whatever you kind of are interested in. I'm going to grab Beacon just so we have it. And then psionic disciplines, we are going to take Celerity. This is a really great ability because not so much for the psychic focus. You could activate this if you want, but I want to keep the two weapon fighting for now. But you get to use your bonus action to increase your movement speed by 3 meters or further if you spend more side points, or any of these other things that really just kind of help with your mobility. Eventually, you can use it to gain action surge, which is really nice to have just to get some more attacks out. And all sorts of things like that. So we're going to go with Celerity. At level 4, we get this ability called Strength of Mind, which allows us to gain proficiency in a saving throw of our choice at will using a bonus action. I recommend using this outside of combat, just so you don't waste your bonus action in combat. But it's a really great ability just to boost your saving throws if you know what you're about to go up against. At this level, we're also going to pick our first feat, and I highly recommend taking either an ability improvement or alert, depending on if you're in honor mode or not. If you're in honor mode, go with alert. That's definitely a good thing to have, so you can't be surprised and you get that +5 bonus to initiative. But if you're not in honor mode, or even honestly, even if you are, you could just go for the +2 into intelligence. This will help get us just more scaling in our attacks and do more damage, really, overall. So at level 5, this build is about to get a massive, absolutely massive power bump. Level 5 gives us access to our abilities that cost 5 psi points, which means that one that was available with Psionic Skirmishing before is now available, and we also get to boost the damage from our Hone the Blade gets more powerful at this level. For our Psionic Discipline here, we are going to grab a very special one called, if I can find it, here it is, Nomadic Grace. This is the one that is really going to help us out because at level 5, which we just got access to, we get Blessing of the Winds. So Blessing of the Winds is a very, very powerful ability. Bless a creature's melee weapons with the essence of the winds, increasing the range of their melee weapon attacks by 4.5 meters. Additionally, their melee weapon attacks deal an additional 1 to 6 psychic damage. This doesn't cost concentration. It's a buff that lasts until long rest. So you just spend 5 psi points, and you buff yourself and give yourself an extra 15 feet of melee range, so you can stab people from very far away, and you get extra damage, which is really awesome. So now at this point, without any gear on, our weapon attacks are each getting a +13 bonus to attack rolls and a 9 to 21 damage per attack from 15 feet away, which is really kind of insane. We're also going to get access to Quick Draw. After being targeted by an attack, you can teleport to the attacker and make a melee weapon attack. This allows us to spend side points to buff our reaction, and also to kind of, if someone attacks us at range, we can just zip to them immediately and stab them in the back. Really great ability to have. You also get Gale Slash and some other things like here that help you do some damage, but really the main thing that we're looking for here is Blessing of the Winds. This is really a critical ability for us. So at level 6, we are going to get our next subclass feature called Consumptive Knife, which just allows us to, keep going and generate some side points after killing enemies, which we're going to be doing a lot. So that's awesome. Not much else at this level. Moving on to level 7. At level 7, we are going to get a new Psionic Discipline, and we're going to roll with something very specific. This time, we're going to grab Psionic Weapon. So the main thing that we're looking for here is Augmented Weapon, which allows us to infuse a weapon with psionic energy. The weapon becomes magical, receiving a +3 bonus to attack and damage rolls. So this one requires concentration and is also until long rest. So this one allows us to, given that it's concentration, it allows us to proc our Strange Conduit Ring for an additional 1d4 psychic damage, on top of giving us an extra +3 to attack and damage rolls on our main hand weapon. So at this point, our main hand weapon is doing a +16 and to attack rolls and 12 to 24 damage per attack. And then our offhand weapon is still getting +13, which is not as great, but still really damn good. So that's the weapon, the thing we're going to take. You also get access to some things here, like Ethereal Weapon that you can use if you want to, or Lethal Strike for some extra damage. We're not really going to use these because there are other things that we can do with our bonus actions that are nicer. You also get this Psionic Weapon, Psychic Focus. It's useful if you want to, but we don't really need the extra +1. We already have +13 and +16 to our attack roll, so we're going to be hitting pretty often, I think. So moving on to level 8, we get to pick a new feat, and we also get access to Psionic Strike. Psionic Strike, after hitting an enemy with a weapon attack, you can deal an additional 1d8 psychic damage. Really great. Just lets us do extra psychic damage, adds an extra 1d8 to our damage rolls. Really nothing else to say about that. We're going to pick a feat, and at this point, you can, if you picked Alert last time, you can go for Ability Improvement this time. Or actually, another good option, now that we are concentrating all the time and to give our weapons extra damage, you could take Warcaster if you want to maintain, to give you advantage on maintaining that concentration. You could also pick something like Sentinel, now that we're doing so many dice rolls, because it'll help with our melee attacks to just re-roll our damage rolls. At this point in the game, we are at level 8, and you are probably nearing the end of Act 2, which means you'll be entering the Mind Flayer Colony, where you can get the Resonance Stone. So the Resonance Stone is a unique item that gives all nearby characters vulnerability to psychic damage just by carrying it in your inventory. It literally doubles the damage output from our soul knives. So this means that, if you remember the math that we did earlier, double that, it means that we're going to be getting between 26 and 50 damage with our main hand weapon and 20 to 44 damage with our offhand weapon, before even adding the Psionic Strike that we just got. Add another 1d8 times 2 to each of those. Disclaimer, the Resonance Stone also gives you vulnerability to psychic damage, so be careful when fighting Mind Flayers or other things that use psychic damage. And while I'm giving disclaimers, psychic damage also does not do any damage to constructs, so make sure you have a backup plan for any fights against constructs like Bernard in the Underdark or the Steel Watchers. So at level 9, we are going to take our last level of the Mystic class and pick our last Psionic Discipline. For that, we are going to choose Psychic Disruption. This is a really cool ability. Or not Psychic Disruption, Psychic Distortion. Sorry, I got my D's mixed up. It's an incredibly cool discipline that lets you summon a Psychic Double, which is really great. Until long rest, summon a simulacrum of yourself. You can swap places with it as if you are acting from its position. You can also reposition it once per turn or swap places with it as a bonus action. So this gives us another option for our bonus action to just like zip around the field and confuse our enemies. You also get access to Obscuring Veil, which allows us to envelop yourself in a cloak of psychic static, obscuring yourself to others for 10 turns. Really great hide action here. You get Mirage, which is another buff that you can apply to yourself until long rest. Costs 5 side points. And then every time you move 3 meters, which we're going to be doing a lot, you gain an illusory copy that makes you harder to hit. Boom. That's great. Make ourselves harder to hit. You can also spend 6 side points to give you and all of your nearby allies illusory or mirror images for 10 turns, which is really powerful, especially given that it's only 6 side points. That's just like a really, really great ability to have, to give yourself a +9 to every single of your friend's AC. And you also get Ethereal Shroud, create a shroud that distorts perception. Creatures within gain the effects of greater invisibility. This is a really great ability to have. We're not really going to use that much, but you could use it if you want to. It gives you greater invisibility for out of combat things, or in combat if you want to. Either way, Psychic Distortion. So after this, we are going to take a dip into a new class, and we are going to grab Rogue. So the main reason that we're going into Rogue here and taking this dip is because we are going to go 3 points 3 levels directly into it, into level 12. There's not really much that you get with the early levels of Rogue other than these cutting actions here. We already have kind of some mystic abilities that give us access to these things. But the main thing that we're looking for here is when you get to Rogue level 3 and at level 12 overall, we are going to grab the Thief subclass, which gives us an extra bonus action, which really just gives us it's gonna mesh really well with the way we have our soul knife set up, and you can use your extra bonus action for a variety of different abilities. You can add an extra offhand attack, or you can use it to boost your movement speed. You can use it to hide. You can use it to go invisible. You can use it to do more damage. It's up to you. Okay, so now that we have our build set aside, let's take a look at some equipment. So for equipment here, we have a couple different options to us. You could use the Mask of Soul Perception once you get to Act 3. This gives us an extra +2 to attack rolls, initiative rolls, and perception checks. You don't really need access to the Detect Thoughts because you already have it. So we could have other options like Saravok's Horned Helmet, which gives us dark vision and reduces the number we need to roll a critical hit by 1. And it can stack. That's really great to have and gives us a +1 to Constitution saving throws. You could use the Hell Dusk Helmet. You could use the Dark Justiciar helmet to increase your saving throws, and also to do the same thing that the Saravok's Horned Helmet does, reduce your critical hit roll. In the early game, I definitely recommend using the Haste Helm. This will help us just kind of move faster at the beginning of combat for 3 turns. It's really invaluable. But once you get the Diadem of Arcane Synergy, this is also something that we can use really well, because we're going to stick it on and combine it with the Brain Drain Gloves, which allow us to, when you deal psychic damage, you inflict mental fatigue for 2 turns. So we are always dealing psychic damage, which means our attacks will be inflicting mental fatigue at a very high rate. And mental fatigue, being a status effect, will proc the Diadem of Arcane Synergy. When you inflict a condition, gain Arcane Synergy for 2 rounds. Arcane Synergy giving you additional damage equal to your affected entity's spellcasting modifier. So once it's not done here, but once it's 20, you'll be gaining a +5 to your psychic damage, which with the Resonance Stone will become a +10. So why not? Let's get some extra damage going. In addition to the mental fatigue. The mental fatigue, let's look at affected entity has a -1 penalty to Wisdom, Intelligence, and Charisma saving throws for every turn remaining. When it fails a Wisdom, Intelligence, or Charisma saving throw while having 5 or more turns of this condition remaining, the entity takes 1 to 4 psychic damage and is no longer mentally fatigued. So this is a really great thing to have on, just because it allows us to do even more psychic damage, and it decreases our enemy's likelihood, or it increases their likelihood of failing the saving throws for Wisdom, Intelligence, and Charisma, which makes it really easy for our other characters to hit them with spells and other things that are save or suck, and also deal extra psychic damage. And because if you're using the Resonance Stone, double that to 2d4. For our cape, we're going to go with either the Cloak of Protection or the Cloak of Displacement. I'm going to go with the Cloak of Displacement for a little bit extra, a little bit extra. It gives you disadvantage on attack rolls to things that attack you at the beginning of your turn. So that's really nice. There is a special ability, there's a special armor that you can get at Danthalon's Dancing Axe in Act 3, called the Thought Stealer armor, which allows you to add your full dexterity modifier to your armor class. Additionally, this armor does not impose disadvantage on stealth ability checks, but the main thing we're looking for here is Thought Steal. Your melee weapon hits sap your target's energy, giving you a +1 to damage rolls, and armor class stacks up to 5 times. So in 1 turn with 1 attack, you can do about 5 attacks and get yourself an extra +1 to your damage rolls and +5 to your attack rolls, or to your armor class. After doing 1 attack, so that's boom, great. And you also, it looks like Dark Justiciar armor, which is pretty cool. I really like the look of that. And we are going to combine this with the Boots of Persistence. You gain freedom of movement and Long Strider. You could use other boots if you want to, like the what's it called, like the Nightwalkers or anything else. But we are going to go with this one. Any boots that just kind of help your mobility are really great here. We're also going to pair this with the Surgeon's Subjugation Amulet. Once per long rest, when scoring a critical hit on a humanoid, the wearer can paralyze the target for 2 turns. Just a good amulet to use, since we're going to be doing a lot of crits with it and making a lot of attacks. We're also going to use the Killer Sweetheart, which pairs really well with the Surgeon's Subjugation Amulet, because When you kill a creature, your next attack roll will be a critical hit. Once spent, this effect refreshes after a long rest. Really great. It allows you to then proc your paralysis and get more critical hits on it. You could also use the risky ring here, the Eversight ring, so that you can't be blinded, or the ring of free action. But because we're using these, we don't really need the ring of free action. It's helpful if you want it, but we're going to use the strange conduit ring while concentrating on a spell that wears weapon attacks deal an additional 1d4 psychic damage. So with the resonance stone, that's going to boost us to 2d4 psychic damage, because we are concentrating on our augmented weapon at pretty much all times. We're going to apply the dead shot into our ranged weapon slot just to help us reduce our critical effect, our critical rolls, which is really nice. It's just a stat stick for the most part. This is pretty much all the gear that we need. We are about to summon our knives really quick, and to do that, we are just going to use the ability. And as you can see, we now have 2 knives in here, and they start out at a +10. Or they don't start out, but because we already have all of our ASIs and everything, they just start out with a +10, and which will be a +11 given our all of our abilities and everything. But what we're going to do here is we're going to use Hone the Blade. At the lower levels, you can use Lesser Infusion to give you a +1 to attack and damage rolls, and then you get a +2. And eventually a oh, that's right, I said +3, but it's a +4. It's actually even more insane than I thought. This is going to apply to both of our weapons. You can see as we use it here, Greater Infusion, we've now got +14, 9 to 16 damage, and 5 to 12 damage. We are going to boost this by then applying Blessing of the Winds. And our melee damage is now even higher, and we're going to add 1d6 psychic damage to every attack, 10 to 22. We are also going to activate, where is it here? We're going to activate Augmented Weapon, our concentration slot, which then activates our Strange Conduit Ring, 1d4, and increases to +17, 12 to 19 damage, +14, 5 to 12 damage. What else do we have here that we can add in? Oh yeah, that's right. We need to add in, make sure that you activate your Psychic Focus. We're going to do the Psionic Skirmishing. This one's going to boost our offhand weapon, give it some extra damage. We have a bunch of abilities that we have to look through here. It can be a little bit confusing because there's a lot of similar colors and a lot of things here, but those are the ones that we're really focused on. We're not going to pop Psionic Alacrity until we get into combat because it's a 10-turn thing. It's not until long rest. You just want to make sure that you use it at the beginning of every combat. So you can see here, Slice and if we use Slice and Dice, there is an absolute ton of rolls on that psychic damage. And if you imagine that you're using the Resonance Stone, it's going to double every instance of damage. 1d8 plus 11 plus 1d4 plus 1d6 plus 1d8 plus 11 plus 1d4 plus 1d6. And using the Resonance Stone, it's going to be 2d8 plus 22 plus 2d4 plus 2d6 plus 2d8 plus 22 plus 2d4 plus 2d6. It really, it builds off of itself, and it gets kind of crazy. Yeah. So, one of the main things that we're going to look at with this class is our boons. These are special potions that are available throughout for Faerun. I believe in Act 1 you can get some from the guy, one of the merchants at the Emerald Grove. In Act 2, I believe you can get some from Quartermaster Tally. And in Act 3, you can get some here at Danthalon's Dancing Axe. Specifically, the Boon of Brilliance is the one here that we can have. There's some different ones, then they stack. But so this one is one of the best ones. You permanently gain Leeching Knives, enhancing the power of your Mystic Soul Knives. When we look at that, Leeching Knives is going to, your successful Soul Knife attacks restore 1 psi point. So basically, every time you do an attack, you're going to gain more psi points to refuel yourself. And this is a boon that just gives you that ability just forever. So we're going to go ahead and buy it and use it because it is a very, very powerful ability, which means that we are always going to be generating more and more psi points to fuel our abilities. We're going to drink it, and now we have it. Easy. Okay, so now we are going to pop on over to the Basilisk Gate, and I am going to show you what this build can do. We do not have the Resonance Stone on our person at the moment because I don't have it in this run, and I can't figure out a way to cheat it into my inventory yet. But imagine that every damage roll I do with psychic damage is going to double. Okay, so we are here in Baldur's Gate, and we have some Mind Flayers to fight. I don't really care about that. All I really need right now is to show off what this guy can do. So we are going to run on over here. You can see here, his melee range is this huge kind of area here. I'm going to run over this far, and you can see we're going to do a stab attack from over here, 10 to 22. Boom, watch this. Easy peasy. And now we still have another bonus action. We can do whatever we want. You can also use your bonus action for Soul Knife parry. If you anticipate damage coming in, you can use Soul Knife parry to increase your armor class by 2 until your next turn. Great ability to have. We're going to use actually Surge of Action here. Actually, no. Let's see what the Slice and Dice can do. I haven't used that one yet. 28 to 52. Watch this. Oh my god, that's insane. That one slice did 22 and 20 damage. Okay. Let's skip that turn. So one Mind Flayer is dead. Good night. And I also don't have the Resonant Stone, so double all of the damage that I'm doing right now, the psychic damage. Except for constructs. You know. I'm always fighting these Mind Flayers for these build videos. So we are a little bit far away, which means we're going to use Rapid Step here, and one of our bonus actions and some side points to increase our movement distance by 12 meters, just because whatever. We're going to run over here. And we might actually be able to do something really cool here. We are in range of this guy. We're going to hit him. Mental Fatigue. And that. And Executioner. And now he has basically no health left. We have used all of our turn, but we nuked him down from full health to basically 8 health. And he also has 6 turns of Mental Fatigue. What that means is that he has a severe penalty to Wisdom, Intelligence, and Charisma saving throws. -6. So other spells will be doing serious damage to him. And have a really high hit chance. It's kind of like the reverse version of Arcane Acuity, and also when they fail that pass, they'll take extra psychic damage, which is going to get boosted by your Resonance Stone that you will have that I don't have. Well, they're really just doing it for me, I guess. Oh, here I can show off. So he is in the area of this Mind Blast, so it's going to initiate the reaction here. If we want to spend 3 side points to quick draw, we do. So it's going to do this and so you may have seen there, it kind of whipped my camera over. But immediately after the attack was made, Sir Fuzzalump jumped behind, or teleported behind him, stabbed him for crazy damage. Okay, so we're going to start here, and we are just going to... Wait a minute. We're not concentrating. Why aren't we concentrating? We need to concentrate. Let's activate our augmented weapon. Now we're concentrating, so now we do the extra 1d4. I was waiting for the strange conduit ring. Okay, so you can see 14 to 29, 95% chance to hit. You're pretty much always going to hit your attacks. But let's see what happens when we do this. You can see, when we're standing here, in this spot, we have our choice of pretty much whoever we want to hit. We can hit him, we can hit him, we can hit him, we can hit him, or not him, but we can hit basically any of these enemies without moving. I can also hit this here just to not attack them, but stab from there. Boom. Attack. Psionic Strike. And we're going to use our bonus action again. We're actually going to Slice and Dice. Look at all those psychic things. Boom. Critical hit. So you can see when you roll a critical hit, 38 and 41, that's like 83 damage. Wait, no. I don't know. That's like 80 something damage. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And that's without the resonance stone. So, just to give you an idea of what this what the soul knife is capable of doing. Here's another quick draw. Boom. And we're gonna psionic strike. Let's hit him. Let's do 30, 25. Oh, I didn't even pop my I totally forgot to pop psionic alacrity. Oh! Well, that's lame. Offhand attack still did 39 damage with the crit. It's really just insane. It's crazy the amount of damage you can do with this. But that pretty much does it for this build. You can see, oh, critical miss there. Oh well. Yeah, so that pretty much does it for this build. You can see this is really just insane. And if you double all the damage you're doing with the resonance stone, then it just the ceiling is incredibly high on what you can do with the soul knives in this game. Especially with the boons that just kind of keep giving you more and more damage and more side points. But that pretty much does it. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you liked the build. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Have a great day.